this is Dana and welcome back to the Orchid Hut. This is video number 12 in the Neophyte series. Now, I haven't done a video for this playlist in quite a while, so if you're unfamiliar with my Neophyte series, I would recommend starting at the beginning of this playlist and watching the first 11 videos first if you have not already done that. It starts off with how to begin your orchid growing hobby in a successful way, my pointers for getting started in the hobby, and then it kind of walks through other different topics with orchids that you might be faced with as a beginning grower, hence the word neophyte. However, even if you are an experienced grower, you may likely find some interesting tidbits and little helpful things along the way in these videos. So while this is geared more towards beginners, others might find interest in these videos as well. And so we're kind of at a place in this playlist where you have maybe developed your orchid growing hobby a bit more and you want to branch away from just growing Phalaenopsis orchids. And this video is going to be about two Dendrobiums. And the reason that I'm doing this video now is because towards the end of spring and into the early summer, many local nurseries and maybe even big box stores put their orchids on sale, and you will probably be tempted to branch out your orchid growing hobby. Now, it's also a great time of year, especially where I live in the southern part of the US, to pick up orchids that have gone on sale, because nurseries bring them in when they're in full bloom and very attractive, and it's easy to sell them at full price when they're like that. But as they begin to go out of bloom, they're less attractive and they put them on sale because, especially too now, we are up to 115 degrees Fahrenheit feels like temperature today. And a lot of nurseries can't even maintain orchids successfully in that kind of heat because they do require, some special care. So they put the orchids on sale as they're going out of bloom. So it's a great time to expand your orchid growing hobby beyond just Phalaenopsis orchids. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, I have two Dendrobiums here that I want to kind of walk through with you, because as you branch out and buy these plants on sale, you still don't want to waste your money even if you're getting a great deal, and you want a healthy plant. So we're going to go through today what to look for, especially in an orchid now that's not necessarily going to be a Phalaenopsis orchid. It might be a Dendrobium, or it might be something like an Oncidium. And then what you definitely don't want the plant to have, because if you take it home, you're either going to infect, spread insects, and or just lose the plant. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Okay, so these two Dendrobiums I picked up about 3 weeks ago at a local nursery. Now look, we're just going to kind of look at the price here first, because they were both 50% off. Okay, and the regular price for both of these was $40. So now instead of $40, they're both $20. And I had a 10% coupon at this particular nursery, so I'm actually getting two plants for less than half the price of one plant. So that's a great deal and a great way to expand your hobby. But you want these plants to be healthy, because still spending $20 on a plant is nothing to sneeze at. That's still good money, and you want the plant to thrive for you and not be coming into your environment with problems. Okay, so we're going to start with the very first thing to look for when you are buying something like this, especially on sale. All right, so the first thing you want to look for is green leaves. Now, orchids can have a variety of different shades of green leaves and be perfectly okay. I made a video a while ago about the different shades of green in a Phalaenopsis orchid, and I'll put a link in the upper right hand corner of the screen for that video. It's about Phalaenopsis, but it can apply to other orchids as well. Not everything has to be a dark green leaf. A medium green like this one is perfectly fine. Some orchids naturally have even more of a yellow-green type of leaf, and that's okay too. But you do want to see green leaves that look some sort of normal shade of green. And the next thing that you want to look for in a purchase like this is you want to see some sort of new growth. Now, new growth can be leaves, especially if it's coming from the crown of a Phalaenopsis orchid. It can be new canes, as in the new cane on this particular Dendrobium. This is, a brand new cane here. You can see that it's much smaller than the one right next to it. Or you could have, new pseudobulb growth, if it's something like an oncidium type orchid. Or you could have a plant that is still in bloom, like this Dendrobium, although, the bloom is on its way out. The bloom is fading, but the plant was healthy enough to recently put out a spike in bloom. This particular plant had 2 spikes coming from the top of this particular cane. One of them has already faded and was really wilted when I brought this plant, but the other bloom has been lasting for a little while. So that's also a signal of new growth. And then if the pot is clear, you can peek through the clear plastic pot and you can tell if there's new root growth, new little green root tips. On this particular orchid, I could tell right here, let's see if I can get the camera to focus in on this, but right here, there was new root growth at the top of the pot that I could see. You see that new little green root tip down there? So I knew that this plant was capable of producing new roots. And even on this one, there is some new root growth that is clinging here to the top of the pot. Okay, so all of those good signs that the orchid is healthy. Now, we're going to move on to the things that you definitely do not want to have, even if the plant is on sale. It's not worth the trouble, the frustration, of having a plant that's going to have a problem. So you don't want to see any kind of spots on the leaves. Now, these 2 orchids do not have leaf spots, but if you see something that's yellow, brown, or black, I would just steer clear of the orchid, even if it's on sale, because that could be indicative of fungal problems, bacterial problems, insect problems, and you just really don't want to bring an orchid into your collection with a known problem like that. The second thing that you definitely do not want to have is any kind of soft canes or bulbs, if you're talking about a Dendrobium or maybe like an oncidium type orchid. So, as you're purchasing, feel the cane, just start at the bottom and work your way up the cane. And if you feel anything soft or mushy, then, it's probably not a good sign. And, I wouldn't even buy an orchid like that on sale. So go ahead and feel the canes. If you feel something soft, leave it be. Same is true for pseudobulbs. The other thing that you want to avoid is anything that has insects. So signs of insects could be little creepy crawlies, but also signs of insects could just be webbing in between the leaves, because spider mites will leave webbing in between the leaves. So if you see any sort of spider webby looking stuff in between the leaves that could be spider mites, I would not purchase that orchid. Now, signs of disease can be something spotted on the leaves or something soft in the canes. But you know, if there's just anything about the orchid that looks unhealthy, then I would just leave it be. Now, if the pot is clear, moving on now to number 4, you can sometimes tell if the roots inside the pot are actually dead, you know, in which case I would leave that orchid alone. In brown pots like these, you can't really tell, but because there was some new root growth at the top of the pot, I'm, you know, pretty hopeful that what is inside the pot is still, you know, something that's supporting the plant. And number 5 is extremely smelly media. So you do want to get your nose kind of close to the top of the pot. And you know, you may smell something kind of woody, or maybe something that smells like soil, and that could be, you know, just a natural smell. But if you smell something that's fermenting or something that's really off-putting, then that could be indicative of, you know, a plant that probably is not going to have a very good root system inside the pot, and I would probably stay away from that one as well so that it doesn't cause me frustration later. All right, so these are the things to look for, especially when buying orchids on sale this time of year, or really any orchid for that matter, maybe even more so if you're going to be paying full price for something that you really want to add to your collection. Let's have a look here. The one with the blue or sort of almost purple Dendrobium flowers is called Dendrobium bicentennial blue. This one actually does have a very, very faint, sweet scent. Not anything that's going to fill up the room, but it does have a little bit of a scent. And this one is Dendrobium calipana sunset. And this one was either out of bloom already, or maybe the bloom had already been cut away. I'm sort of looking at the top of the canes here, and I almost think that maybe this one has never bloomed. You know, it was still in the orchid nursery, but it doesn't really look like it's bloomed yet to me. So I'll cross my fingers that this new growth gives me a bloom. Okay, so that's going to be the end of this video. If you enjoyed it or learned something new, please give it a thumbs up. The subscribe button will be coming up at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Click that notification bell so that you know when I post something new. And subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Happy orchid growing.